Okay, let's do this. Hi, welcome to Indie Games Weekly. This is episode number 5. I'm Anthony. This is Radio Bush Gaming. I'm about to go through all the indie games of the week, and they've got a bit of a theme. This week it's a theme of storytelling. So I thought I'd kind of talk about that a bit as well, and why indie games are really good at this storytelling part of being indie games. This is actually recorded on the 18th of the 6th. If you're playing along at home and want to know what podcast we're up to. And I think that there's been a lot of games. There's been a whole lot of Xbox talk this week with the Starfield and 30 frame rates and all that stuff. But we don't care on this podcast because this is all about indie games. Anyway, I'm going to go and start off with some indie games. Actually, before we do that, last week I talked to Adrian Diedek. We talked about underground indie games, the indie games that are a bit smaller. They're not so big and crazy kind of indie games. They're all about kind of these games that don't care about making. They're not about the money. They're about the game. And yeah, so we did that last week. And so I wanted to start off with kind of a game that represented last week. We'll kind of flow on. And it's got a fair bit of story and all that type of thing going on as well. It's actually called Slayer X Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. There's a lot of Slayer and Slayers. And as you might kind of know, or if you know anything about this game, I got a funny feeling it was inspired by Doom, Duke Nukem, all of those 1980, 1998 type of games. I mean, the game kind of talks about it's a funny game in the storytelling world because it talks about the developer more so than it talks about the game. Like, the developer is 37 now, but when he was playing games, these games were cool, so he wanted to make the best game in the world, but he's like 20 years too late. He's developed this game well and truly so late that it's not fashionable anymore almost, and that's the kind of joke of the game. But if you were a fan of those games, this game really does give you some good nostalgia vibes. Now I would say that sometimes that nostalgic games can be annoying. They have terrible controls and you kind of play them for 5 seconds and hate them. But this game is not that game. This game just looks like it was made back then, but it actually plays really, really well. Like, the movement is made for today's joysticks. Everything is so much today, but it's got the look of back then. And you can imagine that the game actually moves really fast, really well, because of the graphics they're not majorly big graphics kind of thing. Like, it's a pretty light on graphical game, so you can kind of have heaps of violence and guns and things going off, and you're not going to drop FPS. Like, this will probably run at 5 million FPS. I would say that's this game. Sorry. But the thing that is really cool about this game is that it's not that there's so much story in there, but it's not just like you walk into one room, shoot all the people, and move into the next room. It's about finding the path as well. There's a lot of hidden paths around the area, and they were really something that was really popular back in these 1980 games. I remember when I was playing Wolfenstein 3D, the very first one, and you would actually go around hitting the walls and hitting the open doors button, so you could sometimes a painting or a piece of wall would actually move so you could go into a secret passage. Well, this game has that very similar type of vibe to it, where you are forever trying to find where you've got to go. And I mean, you're just looking around for the actual direction that you've got to travel. So I think it's just fun, lots and lots of fun. This is such a great game. You can also, it's got lots of those Duke Nukem very corny one-liners in there, like I can't remember offhand, but I'm just awesome, or my name's Dave, and you didn't Dave me, or something like that. But just things that make you think this is fun and gives you a little smile as you play through. I would definitely recommend checking out this game if you're, especially if you're a fan of Dooms and all those type of games. Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool.
Ring. Hello? Just kidding.
Sorry, I've been a little bit sick this week, so trying to keep it all together. Now, let's go on to the next game. So that there was Slayer X. It's just hectic and fun. You've got to go and check it out. So yeah. After that, we went on to, well, I might just show you a little card and we can see what we talk about that. So this game I'd seen being get developed for a long time on Twitter. It was classic sports driving. Again, another game that's got that Atari type of vibe to it. You remember like California, like racing or something like that. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that's the name, California Racing, where you were just racing these pixel graphic games, and you would do a whole heap of racing in the game where that, well, it's got the same kind of look, this game, but they've added two kind of major elements to the game to bring it up to today's standard. Even though it's very pixelated, well, it's not as pixelated as Atari was. They've added lights to the cars so you can race at night and get these really cool illuminous kind of tracks and distances and things like that. And they've also added hills, which was never in California Racing. So classic sports driving really does it well, how they've shown you stuff from the past, give you this nostalgic input, but then made everything work to today's standards, and it's very cool. Not so much a storyteller's game, but just in the way that it makes it feel like if you've come from that back then. I thought I'd just throw this one as a honorable mention type game. And it only just came out today. I'm not so sure about the name. I think it's going to be a bit of one of those games that's going to be hard to find because of its name. But cool little game. Anyway, let's get cracking. Now, I played this game. It's called Full of Porcupine. And this was really not what I was expecting for this game. I was expecting it to be like a 2D side scroller where you basically kind of talk to people or stuff like that, go for an adventure. And there is a bit of that, but it's so much more than that. It's basically pointing the problems of the medical field and how doctors and nurses and that are overworked and don't get a fair chance in life. And you're not really expecting all this information to come at you when you see how gorgeous the game looks. I mean, it's a really well drawn game and one thing they've done, well, I don't know if they spent more time on, but the eyes of these characters are just adorable. They draw you into their soul. This game, for that reason, you kind of just feel sorry for the people, the characters in the game, and you want to help people. It's quite... I don't know, it's a lot heavier story game than I thought it was going to be to start with. I thought it was more just I'm going to see what's happening kind of thing. But yeah, there's a very heavy kind of underlining story, and that whole medical field is very prominent in this actual game. And you do start to feel the stress of what doctors go through. I know you can't imagine that, but there is that vibe to it. So I think that it's definitely something that's just... I've never played anything like this. Like, I just look at it and go, oh, to make people want to contemplate being doctors or to show the medical field at its worst, but in this way, with this narrative, it's just quite an amazing game in that way. I did find it challenging to kind of... I suppose it's part of being in a hospital, like having multiple levels in the hospital, say 5 or 7 levels, whatever it is. And I found it challenging to know where I had to go to see which patient to help out that patient, because there's so many levels in a hospital. And I suppose that's something that they didn't want to make it straightforward, but from a gaming point of view, I found it slightly annoying trying to work out where everyone was, because, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor person, and I'm kind of learning this, but I suppose that's what they're trying to convey, that it's not there's so many things to learn that you don't even realize that you had to learn. And I like that, but I don't know. I wanted to more relax in this game than I did. Like, don't buy this game if you think you're going to be relaxing all the time. It's not... I mean, it is relaxing, but it's not that relaxing. It's not the game where you go, oh, super chill game. There's more thinking than you ever could imagine. So, I definitely do think that this Fall of Porcupine is a pretty unique game in the way that it makes people working life and daily life experience. It's kind of very real. So it's worth checking out. It's only been out for a few days now on Steam, and some other platforms, I think, as well. I'm not sure where it's on. I should have kept that information. I should be better at this. And let us have a look. So the next little side throw off is actually Jordan's Brothers Game of the Galaxy. This is a click and point adventure game, but it's got like a very it's not, maybe Family Dad, is it American Dad feel to it. I don't know if it's the same animator. I don't think it is, but it kind of reminds me of this American Dad kind of. There's a little alien in your addict, and it's very cartoony, but not like drawn in a way where you know that it's hand drawn. And I like that, but it's got a quite a story to it about an 8-year-old boy that lives with his family. His brother is handsome and popular. So I like that. I like it when they have a character that your main character is the unlikable character, or well, it's likable to us, but it's unlikable. It's probably the less desirable person to be in the family. They always choose the nerdy middle child, or for example, that's the main character, the one that no one actually wants to be in real life, but everyone loves to be in the game. I think that's pretty funny, and very typical of many storytelling games. You choose the most middle ground person instead of the outgoing person, where probably many years ago it was always the outgoing person. But we can relate to these people easier. Solving puzzles, different locations. It's just a really cool little game. I thought it was really for a side note. Because I like to have side notes on the podcast as well. What games has everyone been playing? There's been so many new amazing games come out lately. I feel like I missed a fair few. I feel like that, yeah, write in the comments what games you've been playing this week, so I know what I've got to add to the list of games that you want me to play, or do some reviews, what people like. Am I too indie? Am I not enough indie? Should it be more underground indie games? What games do people want more of? Like, you direct the channel. I like that. And subscribe if you're new too. That's always fun and exciting, because you won't want to miss the unmissable podcasts about indie games. I won't have this sickness of death next week that I'm struggling through. Let's see what we're up to with this. Oh, this is this French game. Very French of this person to be. I'm going to apologize because I'm going to muck this one up. It's Dordogne, I think that's it. It's a French town that is another click and point adventure game. I did not like. Okay, I'm just gonna say, if you're gonna play this, don't play it on controller. It's not so fun, but it's definitely fun a mouse. Yeah, I mean, click and point games are better with mouse, but they sometimes add controller support, and this one, I didn't like the controller support. This is definitely one of those games where the artist was fantastic, and then they tried to make a game kind of vibe. The art in this is just like water paints, all that kind of thing. And then they had this awesome story of like this girl that's going back to uncover her childhood, family secrets in the house and all that kind of stuff. And you're searching and solving little puzzles to work out how you can move around the level. But some of the movement and that was a tiny bit clunky, but you could forgive that for the artwork and the story that you're getting out of this game. Yeah, the hand painted water. I thought so. And it's one of the best narrative games. I told you this is a storytelling episode. I told you storytelling. That's where I was at. It took me a long time to get this key out of this mailbox. There was like problems in this game where you were like had to undo a screw on the back of something. So to rotate like the mailbox, for example, you grab it and then you right click and you could make the mailbox turn or roll or whatever. And that was cool. But then you have a screw on the back of the mailbox that you have to undo and you're rotating it, but then they want you to left click it to actually undo that. And there's just little inconsistencies like that sometimes bother me with games. I feel like if you're going to teach me how to rotate something, every rotation should be done with the same button. I'm just a big believer in that from a development point of view. But I found it fun playing through, and the story part was pretty good. I've only just started this game. It was something that I was into and just got going with, but then I got podcasting and things and like that. I think it's definitely something that I'll go back to and find some more about it. I think it's pretty much about finding, like, you've inherit. I'm not sure if you inherited the house that you go and visit or something like that. I think that's what's happened. I may have misread something in that part of it, but it, and that's where I think you're going through, and you're either visiting or you've inherited this house, and then you're going through and you're kind of unpacking what's happened here in your previous childhood memories. And yeah, it's just beautiful. I don't want to give everything I know away because that's just not fun either. But definitely got that storytelling vibe going on to this one as well. I don't like it when people name games in some weird, like, I know it's French and it's cool, but it's tricky for other places to go, that's blah, tongue twisting kind of name. Sometimes tongue twists me. And probably the French people say, oh, how do we say Radio Bush? And get confused with how I say stuff as well. So I get that point. The funny thing about this game, however, was that you had many points in the game where it's like, oh, we hid that in there because we know that that's where you used to hide stuff when you were a child. And I mean, that's pretty cool. But it can be a bit, it's like, well, I don't know what the answer to that is. But yeah. Anyway, that game there, I think if you're really into your story games, into your narrative story games, this one is, and watercolor paints, water painting, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a pretty fun game. We're getting through some now, and No Delivery. That's my little quick game that I'm going to throw into here. No Delivery is a bit of an interesting one. It's a game that started out on itch. It's they call it a CRPG. I'm not sure what the C stands for, but it's a procedurally generated pizza simulator game. And it turned into a bit of a horror game. It's a new game for me because it's only just come to Steam, but it's been in development for like basically since 2019. So it's like 4 years old kind of game. And yeah, it's. I don't know. I love games that kind of go through this process of that, because when they do get to Steam, they've kind of ironed out all the bugs and that. Like you can see that all the patches and that they've gone through to get through to the final version. If you go to itch, No Delivery, it's called as well. It's procedurally generated dungeons, high employee turnover rate, financial management, and at a haunted restaurant. Is there anything else? Business lingo. Is there anything else you want from your pizza parlor? Basically you're running a haunted pizza parlor, and then you go dungeon hunting to kind of protect your employees. I don't think there's anything else. This is one that I really want to check out. I've only kind of just seen a little bit of it and thought, yeah, that's for me. It meets this underground indie world, and yeah, I wanted to share. So No Delivery, go and have a look at that one as well. And we get to the last of our little collection of games. Can I remember what this game is called? I probably can't. So I'm going to try and find that while I don't make a mess of everything. Otherwise, it's not going to work out so well. This game is called Proto Corgi. So it is basically a dodgem game, and I got addicted to it from the graphical point of view. I like this point and click graphical point of view, but it was very, I know, one of them games you just move around the screen dodging stuff. You can't shoot anything. I don't know if you can get guns or something later on, but I couldn't find a button that let me do guns. You're just basically moving around. It says that it's meant to be a shooting game, so I don't understand why I couldn't find the shooting part of it. Unless only at the start there I was unable to shoot at the start. But yeah, I couldn't find shooting. But I love these pattern ones where the actual things are moving and you're trying, and you've kind of got this constant pattern coming at you and you can try and dodge everything. That's kind of something that I'm always into when it comes to these type of games. But yeah, anyway, that's Proto Corgi. I think that's another one to quickly have a look at as well if you get a chance. And yeah, I'm just doing a quick show today because I'm just a little bit under the weather, kind of sick stuff going around my house, and it's never fun. But yeah, I wanted to kind of present to you a bit of a story and how stories in games kind of thing. And I'll leave you with this bit of a thought about indie games and why stories are probably more heavily pressed into indie games than other games that we play. Like, I mean, like every big AAA thing puts some kind of story in there, but it's basically the same kind of crappy story. You're a hero or you're not a hero, and you've got to save someone and become the hero, or you are the hero, either or. But you're basically saving someone. You finish the game, everything blows up, and you win money or a girlfriend or whatever. That kind of thing. Normal AAA kind of game. Where indie games differ from that is they don't care. They don't care what story you're meant to be putting into that game. What is fun, what is meant to be typical of a popular game. They just put in what they want. I mean, you have a look at the games that I had a look through today, and there was a game that the story was more driven about the self-indulgent game developer that was selling his version of this game as how he wanted to make a game, or how the hospital system's no good, and I want to express how this feels in a game. Like, there's not many. You can't go around doing that with a AAA game because there's no guarantee for success with that type of game. So if you want to make a game that's as risky and as unlikable or likable, but it's a very fine line of, you might make it popular or you might not make it popular. AAA games can't take that risk. They are very business orientated. We have to just have hero blow stuff up and go home. Indie developers and indie games can go around and create whatever they want, because most of the time they're doing it for love of that game that they want to do. So I thought I would leave you that thought about how indie games can be. What's your thoughts on why stories are so great in indie games? Definitely comment that. Also subscribe if you're new around here. Anyway, I'm done for this week, and I will talk to you guys next week.